In the last video, I began to strip down the entire front end of my Mazda RX-7 FD, but finally I have at least something new and cool looking to start fitting in today's video. However, I don't think it's going to be as easy as I think. Right, so I have this package here that has come all the way from Thailand. So let's get straight into what's inside of this box, and I will start explaining exactly what's going to be happening here today. So these are 2x2 twill carbon fibre arch covers, which are fitted from the engine bay point of view, which I will get to and explain in a second. But first, I had no idea what to expect quality wise with these, because I've never bought from this person before, and I've never ever seen a set of these fitted to another RX-7 FD in the UK before. If you would like a set of these made, please drop the guy a message. I will put his name on the screen just here, and he will help you out with a set. He makes these also in Kevlar carbon fibre too, by the way, so if that's something else that you want instead of the 2x2 twill, just drop him a message and he will help you out. But honestly, from my experience so far, I highly recommend him, and I'm very impressed with what I have received from him so far. So you see these two gaps here and over here. This is where the plastic arch liner goes through the arch. Obviously you can see that I haven't got mine fitted because you can see straight through to the floor. The plastic arch liners are basically to protect all of these electrics, etc., that you can see from water off the roads or whatever, which is great. But the problem is when you start putting bigger wheels on the FDs, or you start to lower your FD, what tends to happen is the arch liner begins to rub on the top of the tyre, and worst cases with FDs, sometimes the tyre can hit up into here. It rubs through the plastic, rubs through this electrical wiring, and some people have had some major repair issue costs to get all this done again, because the car just starts to play up. And that is not what I want. And this is where the new carbon fibre covers come into play, because these are fitted from the engine bay point of view, like I said at the beginning of the video. So when I say that, that means these covers are going to sit on this lip here. They're going to come underneath. So I'm going to need to remove a lot of these electrics and air filters, etc., to get to here. And that is going to cover all of this area. And the reasons that's so good is because A, it gives you more tyre clearance inside of the arch. So that will stop the issue with the tyre hitting up into the plastic, because it's going to be giving you that extra sort of 10mm clearance, maybe more. And B, it's just going to look really good inside of the engine bay with all the other carbon fibre touches that I have. So I'm looking forward to having these fitted. Now, ideally, you should still use the plastic OEM arch liners along with these new covers that I've just bought fitted. But I want to try and seal off and extra protect some of the areas inside of the arches, so I don't have to use the plastic arch liners at all. To be honest with you, many other RX-7 owners just remove these anyway and just risk driving without them. But it is a risk if you do get caught out in any bad weather, to be honest, for whatever reason. So say like you go to a car show, like I have in the past, it starts off a nice day and then on the way back it's absolutely dreadful weather. So that's what I want to try and avoid. So I do kind of need to make sure I can seal off what I can, just in case that does happen. Now onto something that I'm not really looking forward to doing with these new carbon fibre covers, and that is to cut out some slots in the covers themselves so you can get access to this bottle here and this bottle over here. Now, some people just cover these up and just kind of remove the covers if you do need to get to them. Other people I've noticed online, just scrolling through Instagram, people that's bought these from this guy before, I've noticed some of them make some really nice cutouts in the covers so you can get easy access to these. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to prefer to do the cutouts because I think it's just easier in the long run, but it's just going to be a challenge trying to get these cut out correct. That's something I've never done before, so that's the reason why I'm feeling a bit nervous on cutting some expensive items up that I could potentially mess up. But like I was saying, people online I've noticed are doing it completely different or slightly different to others, and that's mainly because it all depends on, like, for example, what light setup you've got. So you can see I've still got the stock OEM headlight setups with the motors, which is down here, which stick out. Whereas, for example, some people remove all of this, they remove the motors, and they've got aftermarket setups, which means they've probably got no motor down here. They've probably wire tucked all of this so that it's non-existent. Some people would have had a complete different coolant setup, so they would no longer need this bottle, and in the long run all they've got to do is just fit the covers and then that's the job done. So for people like me that still has both stock bottles, I think it's just going to be better just to make the cutouts. I don't know what the hell's going to happen, to be honest, but let's just make a start and just go for it. Back again with a new Dremel and some circular saw pieces. Was not sure if I'm going to use them yet or not, but just thought I'd buy them anyway. So one of the first jobs I need to do is start removing some of the cable ties that's tied around the wires. That will free the wires up for me to get to where the covers are going to get fitted. Next I need to remove the strut brace. I'm just hanging it out the way. Next I can begin to remove both the ram air filters. That gives me more space around that area too. Next I need a 10mm spanner. That is to remove the bottom bolt where there is a bracket holding on. Then I just disconnected the pop-up headlights, moved the bracket with the relays on out of my way, and then lastly I just need to loosen off that coolant bottle, so that gives me a bit of room to play with. Oh, it's bloody hot. Right, what I'm going to do next is grab the carbon fibre cover for the driver's side, which I've just been working on. We're going to place it to the car now just to see where it's fouling, because I think it's going to need cutting in multiple places to get this to fit flush. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't think it's going to be a very easy job at all, but I'm just going to take my time and just hopefully by the end of this video it all fits fine. So before I place it down, I'll just show you guys quickly what I've moved out of the way. So this is the wiring loom here for all of these relays. That bracket goes over to here. Before I had them inside of the arch tucked up out of the way. That's what those cable ties were that I was cutting before. Then I've loosened off this bottle here, so just gives me a bit of movement to play with, because I think the cover has to come underneath of this and then this needs to go back in the same area, I think. I'm not sure, I'm just guessing here. This is the motor for the pop-up headlight. You can't really move this anywhere, that's pretty damn solid and it's fixed. I've seen someone else cut a circular hole out just so you can get access to this, because when you pop the headlight up manually, this little red knob here spins, as you can see. So that's what lifts the headlight up and down. You can see there, it's moving. It's not really a big issue if I can't get to that. If I have to just take the covers off, I'm not really bothered, and it looks more tidy if you don't cut holes out in this area especially. So I'm hoping I haven't got the cut holes out here for that. My main concern is this area here, because where you've got the neck of the bottle, I think I'm going to need to cut like a little U shape out just so this has got movement, and I may need to cut a big circular hole around this area and then use the Dremel to sort of come over this way and then maybe cut a bit of a straight line coming towards me here, just so this has got more play as well. And as long as that cover fits flush on all of this edge, I'm not too bothered. Then once those issues over here are solved, that should be ready to start permanently fitting these covers over here. Over to the other side quickly, I think there's a bit more going on in this area, because you've got more wires, which I think is going to be quite a pain to get moved out of the way. Also got another bottle over here, which I'm going to need to do the same, I think, to cut another U-shaped hole. And you've also got another motor which sticks out quite high this side, so I'm not entirely sure if the covers are going to miss this or if I need to do something with this too. But we'll come to that later on in the video. Let's just get this side done first. By the way, this is my first time attempting to try and make these fit into an RX-7 FD, so it will take me a few attempts with this cover to try and get right. So throughout this video you will probably notice I'll be taking this cover on and off, and I'll be taking my time when it comes to the trimming part. So the problem seems to be for me is where I've got this coolant hose here coming off of the AST tank, which is just here. So this black one, if you follow my finger down, it comes across and then it goes into that bottle which is underneath of here. Now what's happening is the bottom of this cover is fouling on the top, so I may need to cut another U-shaped hole down the bottom around here. Then this will drop the cover down lower, and for the top, just as predicted, it's going to need something cutting out at the top here and probably a U shape around here. once those two things are done, I think the wiring loom that comes off of the motors may be okay, because they've got a like indentation that comes around here, so it might be okay. So this is where it starts to get worrying for me, because I need to start marking up what to cut. I'm going to start with the bottom first, because I think, like I said, that's going to drop this cover down lower. But from what I can see so far, look at the difference that makes. Just looks so much cleaner around this area. It matches my plenum cover. Once the carbon fibre strut brace is back on and the cooling panel, it's all just going to match really nice. Not too much carbon, just enough to make it look nice. So yeah, let's get this cover back off now, start marking things up, and let's just make a few cuts and see what happens. So I'm just going to cut back into the video a second, because I want to kind of show you where I'm at. So I've had to make quite a lot of different cuts to the carbon fibre cover itself, because basically it's fouling on this main wiring loom, which is going to the pop-up headlight. So now I've cut a bit of that material away, it's now tucking up where I need it to, and there's two holes, one at the top, one at the bottom, which I'll show you in a second. That's now finally lining up where I want it to. So what I'm going to do now is just show you guys how this new cover is lining up, and you can finally start to see what it's going to look like. This was really putting me to the test. I haven't actually fitted anything to my car for quite some time now, and yeah, this was definitely one of those times where you just need to take your time to get this sort of thing right, but I think I'm getting there. And there you have it. So that is the first one finally fitted, at least. Still need to do the cutout for the bottle yet, which is the last task to do. But overall it's fitted. So that's the main tab that you can see here. That fits at the top and lines up nicely. And then I'll try and get my camera to focus down this way. So you can see that silver bolt just here. That's the other tab. That now lines up. I just need to put a nut on the other side. I won't use that bolt because I'll change that to something else. It's just an example for now to show you guys it lines up. And you can see down the bottom there, that hose is now got a square cut out for it to go underneath, so that's not fouling. The main issue was trying to get this cover to tuck underneath of this gap around here. So you can see it's extremely tight around this area here, so that was what required quite a bit of trimming to do. And I've cut quite a bit of material out here on purpose, just so this wiring loom has got plenty of room to move. That way it won't put any tension on the cover. So I did say at the start of the video I wasn't going to run any of the plastic liners at all, but I think I might have to cut or do some sort of modifying just to keep parts of it at least, because you can still see there's gaps here in the arch. I can get that to sit more flush because I've just literally loosely bolted that in at the moment, but I'm not really happy about all this motor under here still being exposed, so I may even just cut out a piece and just screw that to the bodywork or something. I'll figure it out. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. But overall, so far, I'm quite happy with how far I've got. Like I said, it's just taking your time, just thinking about what you've got to do, and the results are now showing. So what I'm going to try and do now is use this bit here as a datum point and try and measure from here to where that bottle roughly is. Start making a small hole where it is, see if that lines up, and then I may just use the Dremel by freehand and try and get that right. I'm not really bothered about seeing the edges because you can use rubber trim to make that look a bit more tidy at the end, which is what I'll probably do. Hopefully this will look a nice tidy job at the end. This bracket here was basically shoved underneath of the arch before because I had issues trying to fit my twin ram air filters to the stock twin turbos. It's basically not a lot of room here, as you can see. That bracket was in the way, so I tucked that out of the way basically. But I've just chopped off the end here, and I'm going to use these two threaded points just to keep that back in the stock location, so that now shouldn't be a problem. and I will just spray this bracket at some point just to make that look a bit more tidier. So let's move on to cutting this slot out now, and that side will be finally completed. It's back to moving the relays and wires out of the way, and now you can see me using a vernier gauge to mark up where I need to cut this slot out. I really did not want to cut these panels because I love how nice and smooth it looked in the engine bay, but because I've got the stock bottles, I just think in the long run it's probably best that I do cut them out. To be honest, worst case in the future, if I do decide to make any different changes, I can just contact James and just order another set of covers. Right, that should be it now. This should fit. I just had to make a few last little tweaks to the panel, and I think this is fine. Like I said earlier, I do want to put some rubber trim around the hole, so I'm not really worried about what the cut looks like as such, because I can glue some rubber over it. You won't see any of it. But yeah, I'm going to fit this now, and we'll see what it looks like. So we pop the bottle through the hole first, and then what I do is just quickly put the top bolt on, so that holds the carbon fibre cover and the bottle in place. I don't do these up really tight because you need a bit of play to try and get the second hole down the side in line. So just do that like sort of about that, so not a lot at all. And then put the bracket on next, because this plays around with the tension of the wire with the gap. I'll just put one in for the minute, like so. Now you can move these wires around, so the tension I'm going to push back down towards the pop-up headlights, so that gives a little bit more tension. And then I use my hand at the bottom of the cover and shift it over towards where the front bumper would be. You may need to like pull this wiring loom about a bit just to get the cover in place, but once you get it, the hole lines up absolutely perfect. I'm just going to put this 10mm threaded bolt through just to hold it in place, like so. Let's just do this up a bit more. You can do the bottle one up a bit more now, so this won't move. So that's going absolutely nowhere. Bracket is absolutely fine. Get up a little bit more. There we go. You should just seen that bracket come into alignment a bit more. And then just like I say, play around with the wires how you want them at the end. But that is officially done. The only thing I need to do is just put some nice rubber trim around these edges to hide all this. And that's the first one done. I'll just grab the camera and just show you a bit more up close. If we're looking at engine bay view, so if we pop the bonnet up, this is what you're going to see. Like I said, just ignore this cut just here because you're not going to see it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this has came out in the end. I didn't go too wide on the neck width here. I did measure it with the vernier gauge, and I just went a little bit wider because the rubber edging will make this look a lot more neater, so I'm not really too bothered of how this looks. So yeah, that's the first one done. So now we need to move over to this side, which I'm really not looking forward to because this bottle neck is a lot bigger, as you can see, compared to the other one. So I'm going to need to use a bigger circular saw when I get to this one. It's going to be a different measurement too. But again, this wiring loom comes over, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work yet. So let's crack on and see what we get. Yeah, this side, as expected, was definitely going to be the harder one to do, which is why I did this second. So you can see I've got earth wiring here, I've got the main loom coming off of the car here, which goes across. I've also got relays in here, relays in the little box down there, and all these connections. So what I've done is I've just removed the whole entire bracket, which is just down here on the floor. And I'll probably spray paint that up as well whilst that's off. You can see all the dirt is collected. So I'll give all that a good clean too. That's now ready for me to try and trial fit the carbon fibre cover at least, we can see what we've got. This is now loose too, so I can push that underneath the cover like I did the other side over there. And this is the motor for the pop-up headlight, just like the other side, but it's sticking up slightly more over this side, but it shouldn't be an issue. The cover should go over the top just like the other one. So yeah, let's grab the cover next and crack on. So this side actually is being a lot easier than the other side was, surprisingly. I was trying to fit this a minute ago with the orientation around the wrong way, that's why I was struggling, but now I've got it the right way. The first thing I do need to trim is this area just here, which has got a crease from where the guys made them. I am starting to wonder now if he's made those creases on purpose, which has given you a guide where to cut if you've got the stock loom. So that's the first thing I'm going to trim out. That should then shift this cover over this way, which then means the tab, which you can see just down here just about, I think, needs to line up with this bolt, I'm guessing. So let's do that first, trim this piece away, and then that will give me a guide of what to do next. Yeah, let's go. Just had a little fettle around with this, and I think I need to start taking off some material around sort of this area just here, not much. Sort of come round to sort of there. Once I cut that out, I think this will help this go this way a little bit more. The hole, I don't know if you can see this because it's quite dark, there is a hole just here, and the bracket for the cover is just here. So I'm hoping once that material is cut out, that should shift it over enough, tuck under the gap. It's exactly the same as the other side, so it's really tight around where the main wiring loom is. So let's cut that out and see what happens.
It's all said and done, I'll still be here standing.
So the problem I've got now is this small wire here, which is coming off of the small fuse box. What it's doing is putting tension from the main loom across. So you can see there it's fouling on the cover. So I may have to cut this out a little bit more, but it's really not far off now of being aligned with that hole. So I might just take a little bit more material off, and then hopefully that should do it. This time I've taken quite a lot of material off and I've squared the cut off. So I'm hoping that wiring loom will now fit into where that square sort of slot is. Top bolt in. It does line up. I think what it is because I've got the wires crossed over this way, the little wire that I was talking about coming off the small relay box is basically putting a little bit of tension still on this cover, which is pulling it away basically from where the hole needs to bolt up. So what I might have to do is just quickly put that bracket back on, line all of this stuff up, and just see if that moves that over enough, just to see if it lines that cover up, and that's pretty much it. We can get straight on with cutting that hole out, and that's the whole job done pretty much. Just the little touches at the end, like spraying brackets, putting the rubber seals on, connecting all of the electrics back up for the pop-up headlights, and then that will be it. So let's try that next, and fingers crossed it works, and then we can get straight on with the last job. Right, so finally I got there in the end. This was definitely the harder side to do, which I predicted from the start, to be honest. I did cut out a little bit too much material here, as you can see, but once that rubber trim's on, it won't be that bad, so I'm not too bothered. But if it went any more further this way, it would start looking a bit odd, but that's fine. I'm happy with the result, considering it's my first time doing this too. So what I'm going to do now is just put the bracket back on with all of the relay stuff and all this other electrical stuff here. So that's now both of the covers fitted. What I need to do next is just tidy up some of the electrics still, like put the lids back on, just maybe tidy some of these electrics up. I need to still plug in some of the electrics for the pop-up headlights. I've left myself some room to possibly trim a little bit more because I'm not sure how tight the rubber trim's going to be when I fit it. So I've just kind of left myself a little bit of wiggle room in case I need it on both sides. Overall, I'm very happy with how the job has turned out because I was extremely nervous about messing this job up, but I think I'm happy with what I've done so far. And like I said, once that rubber trim's on, that will finish the look off. So what I'm going to do now is go home, order some rubber trim, and then I can put the bumper on, the strut brace, the cooling panel, and you guys can finally see what the overall look is going to look like. So let's skip on to the next time I'm down the unit. And I'm back, and you can see the RX-7 bumper is placed back on. It's not attached to anything, I just put it back onto the car just to get it off of my floor over there basically. It's an absolute glorious day today outside, as you can see. So I probably will be taking that thing out in a bit, just to go and give that a run. Just enjoy a bit of the sunshine. But anyway, I'm now back with the rubber trim that I did say that I needed next. This is a brand called E-Tech that makes this. It's quite good quality, to be fair. They specialise in silicone hoses, aluminium intake pipes, etc. I just want to show you guys the quality up close because I know a lot of people don't actually use this. They just leave the cut, but believe me, this will look so much better when this stuff is fitted. So yeah, that's what it will look like around the edges. Just makes it look a lot more tidier. What I normally do is just put a little bit of clear silicone inside of there just to make sure it bonds to whatever you're putting this onto. And I did, like I said last weekend, leave this cut quite close and tight on purpose because I didn't know how wide this trim was going to be, and it's a good job I did because there's still quite a lot of material that I can cut out, which is good. So what I'm going to be doing today is putting this trim from this edge here, just trying to do this one-handed a second, and then you can see it's quite tight at the moment where it is currently. So what I'll be doing is coming over a little bit more here with the Dremel, cutting another straight edge, and I'm going to be curving it around here, and then there's quite a lot of material I can cut around this edge all the way around here straight. And then once this is all put on, that will fill the gap, as you can see. So it will look good. So let's get this front bumper off of the RX-7, crack straight back on with getting the right cuts done, get this trim on, and then we can finally see the end result. So the next thing I'm going to do is put this trim from that edge like I just said. I'm going to put some masking tape around where this edge ends, and then I can start to Dremel out to the edge of the masking tape. That way it should keep a nice flowing sort of edge all the way around till we get to this part here. So the trim should start looking something like this once you put that rubber on. Now, it's not going to stay on there once you start driving the car from like all of the vibration, etc. But that's why I use some silicone just for extra precaution to make sure this does stay on. So I think what I'm going to do now is just put some around all of these other cut edges, even though you're not really going to see them as such, but it just tidies the job up a lot more, and we'll get this side fitted and move on to the other side. And there we go. So this side is now fitted, as you can see, with the rubber trim also fitted. Now I am going to take this back off camera to do the silicone job like I said, but I just want to show you guys in this video that it is fitted. It's all looking good, and you can see I've finally got the cutout the correct shape now for everything to fit as it should. Also off camera, I'm probably going to spray the bottle and the bracket because I think that would just look a lot better. And I'm also going to probably order some like plastic new tubing to go over all of these wires just to make that look a lot nicer too. But now we're going to move on to the other side and do exactly the same again. As you know already, this side is the more harder one to do. So again, I need to just crack on, get this done, and then that is the job done. So finally, that is both of the covers now fitted after a lot of like backwards and forwards with the Dremel. I got there in the end though, and it is looking pretty good now. That rubber trim's now fitted. Now what I'm going to do is just place my bumper back on along with a few other bits and just show you guys a bit more up close what this is now looking like. If you're wondering why the hell my car is stripped apart like it is, because you've probably missed a few of my other videos, I've basically got some custom made 25mm wide wings being made for me, along with a OEM bonnet with 2 subtle vents cut out at the top, which will be on the channel very soon. I finally had an update from Martin from Concept 7 who is making them, and he's now said they are ready to collect. So what I need to do is arrange a 5-hour each way trip basically to go and get those, and then I can bring them back to unit, and that's going to be the next few videos of me having that challenge trying to get all of that stuff fitted. But anyway, that's coming up in the next few videos. Let's now focus on these carbon fibre items and just show you guys what these are looking like up close. So like I just said, I've only placed this stuff back on the car, but now you can see why I wanted these covers fitted. So up front here, we've got my Night Sports carbon fibre cooling panel, which I've just hit off by accident. Like I said, I've just placed it on. So yeah, we've got the Night Sports cooling panel, and now it sort of flows up this way where one of the new covers are. And now that just looks super nice around this area. Once I've got like this bracket sprayed up, along with all of this area resprayed too, I'm probably going to spray these bottles because I hate this ugly looking colour. I have been looking into certain paint to do this, and I will get that ordered too. Over this side, it's just a bit of a mess with the wiring still. I'm not going to go too mad trying to sort that out at the moment because like I said, I've got other items coming to get fitted to the car. So I may need to take both of these covers back off yet, just so I get better access to fit the new items. But then you start moving up this way. You've got the carbon fibre Cusco strut brace and the custom made carbon fibre plenum cover, which a lad from Australia made me. So I'm super happy with how this is now looking. I'm just glad that both of these areas are starting to look a little bit more tidy. That's pretty much it for today's video. I really hope I gave you some confidence. If you're thinking about ordering some of these for your FD, just take your time and you'll probably do a better job than what I have, because like I said, this is my first time. I could have basically neatened this gap up a bit more, but once that plastic trim's behind, it probably won't even be that bad. But it looks fine as it is. I'm not too bothered. So thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye on the channel for the next sort of stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Until then, I'll catch you all in the next one very soon.